19. The Turing Threshold. When machines started sounding like us, the prediction, what we thought. Among all late 20th century predictions about artificial intelligence, one stood apart as a symbolic milestone. A computer would pass the Turing test, proposed decades earlier. The test asked a simple but provocative question. If a human conversing with a machine couldn't reliably tell whether the other party was human or not, had the machine demonstrated intelligence? Passing the test didn't require consciousness, creativity, or understanding, only indistinguishability in conversation. And yet, it carried enormous cultural weight. It marked the point where machines stopped feeling like tools and started feeling like someone. In 1999, this threshold was treated as distant, profound, and borderline philosophical. It wasn't just a technical achievement, it was a line between eras. Why this prediction made sense in 1999? At the turn of the millennium, AI was impressive, but narrow. In 1999, computers could beat humans at chess but not chat. Expert systems worked only in tightly constrained domains. Conversation with machines felt brittle and mechanical. Humor, nuance, and context were out of reach. And yet, there was a growing sense that the hard part wasn't logic, it was language. Computers were already fast, tireless, and precise. What they lacked was fluency. If that barrier could be crossed, the rest might follow. Language felt like the gateway to intelligence, not its endpoint. This belief was strengthened by the era's optimism about exponential progress. Computing power doubled predictably. Data was accumulating. The internet was generating vast amounts of text. From the 1999 vantage point, it was reasonable to assume that conversational competence was a matter of scale. For younger readers today, it's worth emphasizing how non-obvious this still was. In 1999, talking to a computer meant issuing commands. Dialogue felt scripted. The idea that a machine could carry an open-ended conversation, let alone fool a human, still belonged to science fiction. But the direction felt right. Who said it, and where? One of the most confident predictions came from Ray Kurzweil, who argued in The Age of Spiritual Machines, 1999, that machines would reach human-level conversational ability within the first few decades of the 21st century. Kurzweil believed that once pattern recognition systems had enough data and computing power, language would yield. Conversation, in his view, was a statistical problem waiting for sufficient scale. The test itself traces back to Alan Turing, whose thought experiment had become the gold standard for conversational intelligence. By the late 1990s, passing the Turing test was shorthand for machines catching up. Kurzweil's confidence was striking because he treated the milestone not as speculative, but scheduled. The question wasn't if, but when. What actually happened 2000 to 2025? The path to the Turing threshold was not linear. For much of the 2000s and 2010s, conversational AI advanced slowly. Chatbots existed, but they were shallow. They relied on scripts, keywords, and tricks. Passing the Turing test in any meaningful sense remained elusive. Then, almost abruptly, the trajectory changed. Large language models emerged, trained on vast portions of human text, capable of generating fluent, contextual, and surprisingly coherent language. These systems didn't understand in a human sense, but they could talk like humans do. By the early 2020s, many people experienced something new. Conversations with machines that felt natural. Responses were nuanced, humor appeared, context carried across turns. Mistakes happened, but so did moments of genuine surprise. In controlled settings and casual interactions alike, machines crossed the indistinguishability threshold. Not always. Not perfectly. But often enough that the question shifted from can they pass the test to does the test still mean what it used to? By 2025, conversational AI had become part of daily life for work, learning, creativity, and companionship. The Turing test, once aspirational, felt almost quaint. The threshold had been crossed quietly and at scale. Verdict. Status. Realized. Machines now routinely produce language that is conversationally indistinguishable from human speech in many contexts. By the practical standards envisioned by the Turing test, the milestone has been reached. The prediction proved accurate, though the route taken was unexpected. Why it played out this way? The key insight was that fluency does not require understanding. Rather than modeling reasoning explicitly, modern systems learned the statistical structure of language itself. By predicting what comes next, again and again. At massive scale, they achieved conversational competence without human-like cognition. This was not how most people in 1999 imagined the problem being solved. They expected symbolic reasoning, logic engines, and explicit intelligence. Instead, the breakthrough came from data, probability, and scale. Kurzweil was right about timing and outcome, but not about mechanism. What this prediction teaches us about the future. This case highlights a powerful forecasting lesson. Milestones are often reached sideways. The Turing test wasn't passed by machines becoming human-like thinkers. It was passed by machines becoming excellent mimics of human language. The result satisfied the criterion, even if it unsettled the philosophy behind it. From the hopeful lens of 1999, passing the test symbolized partnership with intelligent machines. From the reality of 2026, it raises deeper questions about meaning, trust, authorship, and identity. The future delivered the milestone, but changed the conversation around it entirely. One-sentence takeaway. We expected machines to think like humans to pass the Turing test, and instead taught them to talk like us, which turned out to be enough.